Good to us. These sessions have grown, and so the seating continues to expand. So I will have to branch out and give some of you guys over on maybe this side. I don't know what happened to this side. Is just no one like that side anymore? I'm teasing. But well, that's where all the people that come in late, we always look over that way and we're like, yeah, we know. No, I'm teasing. So we're going to get started here with our personal growth, CLC personal growth class for 2025. We're in 2025. I've been dating everything 2024 and then scratching it out because it's already here. It's upon us. But 2024 was an interesting year for a number of people. The economy, the election, the world, a lot of things were going up and down in chaos. But the wonderful thing about being an apostolic Christian is that regardless of what this world does, we're in the kingdom economy. And we are children of the King, and we are going to always move forward and advance because the kingdom of God is ever expanding and always growing. So we had a good year here in 2024, but we're looking forward to an even better year in 2025. And we've gotten a word for our church about increase. And a number of weeks ago, and I was talking with Pastor, and we were working on this new series coming into the new year, and just felt in prayer that season of increase would be an appropriate theme for this semester. And we were thinking about different topics and what would really make sense, because it's one thing to have a spiritual promise, of there's going to be increase, there's going to be great things coming, there's blessing and prosperity, and there's revival, but you have to take it from the atmosphere, from the theoretical, from the promise down to your feet and walk it out, live it out in practical steps each and every day. And so that's what these sessions are going to be about. And I'll talk about what the upcoming sessions here at the end. But tonight we're kicking this off with Brother Joseph Adams. And for those that probably most of you know, but those that don't know, this is our pastor's brother. And to tell you just a little bit about Brother Adams, he is a wonderful preacher, a man of God, a dedicated husband, a fantastic leader, and I could spend a lot of time emphasizing a lot of different things, but I wanted to hone in a little bit on his experience as both a pastor and also as an entrepreneur. Because he is the type of person to go somewhere and that people may look at and say, hey, there's limited opportunity, or this is, a place where there's just not a lot going on, or this is a business idea that has limited, natural limitations. There's not a lot you can do with that. And he will find those type situations, and whether it's in the spiritual or in the natural, and he finds a way to flourish and to grow. I've thought of the analogy, this is a goofy analogy, but if you stuck him somewhere and you said, all right, we're going to give you 3 chickens and a rooster, and all you can do is you got to make a living off of this. You come back in about 6 months or a year. Most people would have ate one or two of them and be just barely surviving. He'll probably have 1,000 chickens, and half of them are laying golden eggs. And people are coming from around the world to visit him. So that's the type of person he is. I was trying to think of a better example, but that's what came to mind. So, but he's the type of person that can take something and really take it to the next level. But what I really like about his experience is he didn't just try one thing and be successful with that, and then he just stopped there. But what his story, and I don't want to steal his thunder, I don't know how much he's going to tell of his story, but what he's done is he has found a place to plug in business or in church or in different seasons of life, different places. He'll plug in with where he's at and maximize it. And what the wonderful thing is, that gives birth to even greater opportunity. And so he's had multiple business ventures. He's had multiple things that he's been able to grow and to successfully take to the next level. And then that gave birth to even greater opportunity. But again, I don't want to steal his thunder. So without further ado, we appreciate you, Brother Joey Adams, for coming. I've really set it up for you tonight. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Brother Haley. He did not steal my thunder. He gave me thunder that I didn't even know I had. And so thank you very much. My goodness. That rooster thing, that's exactly what I think about myself. I've always thought that. You give me 3 chickens and a rooster, and I'm gonna come out alive and on top. Well, it's just good to be back tonight. Tonight, the subject is attracting and maximizing opportunity. I was asked to speak on this subject, and I love, it's one of my favorite things, is when the subject, I'm kind of given direction on a subject, and I just love what is going on here, and I love these kind of classes, and I'm a big believer in this. We do this back home, and there's always something really special about the people who come to these classes and are dedicated to coming. I've always noticed that people, even successful people who you would think they know everything and they've got it all figured out, I've noticed that even those kind of people are attracted to come into these kind of classes because they have a mindset that they still can learn and grow. And so I commend all of you for being here tonight. I want to start tonight by talking about recognizing opportunity. I think that we need to be able to recognize opportunity when it comes to us, when it's around us. What good is it if we attract opportunity or if there's opportunity available if we are not able to recognize opportunity? So I think this is very important because I notice so much that there are some people who cannot see when they have been given an opportunity or when there is an opportunity right in front of them. I would like to start by giving a biblical principle here tonight from the book of Exodus chapter 16 in verse 7. If they'll put that on the screen for us, you can follow along. Exodus chapter 16 and verse 7. This is where Moses was in a bad situation. And he all of these people in the wilderness, they needed to be fed. They needed provision. And they were looking for that provision. And God told Moses that in the morning you're going to see my glory. And Moses, he told the people that in the morning ye shall see the glory of the Lord. Now this was before manna was found and introduced to the children of Israel in the wilderness. And so this really stands out to me because God is saying, when I think about seeing the glory of the Lord, I think, what's that going to be like? How amazing and spectacular of a thing it will be to see the glory of the Lord. And I always wonder what were they thinking when they laid their head down on their pillow that night, trying to imagine and envision what the glory of the Lord would look like. Well, I imagine that if you were hungry and you were in the wilderness, and the whole point of your prayer was that you needed provision and you needed food, I imagine you would be envisioning filet mignon and, just a beautiful, soft, buttery loaf of bread. All of these things, you'd be envisioning. You would just, God coming out of heaven. How's it going to be? How's it going to show up? And that they were no doubt very excited, looking forward to this. And then Exodus chapter 6 and 14, just a few verses later, it tells us what the glory of the Lord was. And they can put that on the screen. You can follow along. When the dew that was gone up. Behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna. For they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. So manna, the word manna simply means, what is it? So they looked at manna and they said, what is this? They were looking for the glory of the Lord. They were looking for provision. But when it came, even when they knew it was coming, they couldn't even recognize it for what it was. It was the provision of God, and it came in the form of opportunity. It didn't come in the form of a finished product, but it came in the form of a seed. And so we see that there's a principle in the Bible as well as in life that provision and the things that we desire, it comes in the form of a seed. You see that even victory would come in the form of a seed, the seed of a woman. And so this is how it is for us when opportunity, when we stumble upon opportunity. Oftentimes it's not in the form that you were hoping it would be in. We all want the loaf of bread. We want the finished product. We've got a dream. We have a vision of what it can be and what we can have. But then when the rubber meets the road, it looks a whole lot like work. It looks a whole lot like risk. It looks a whole lot like stepping into the unknown, not sure of the result, not sure of the outcome. And so a lot of times people never take that step because they are so uncertain about the opportunity that's in front of them, and they don't recognize it for what it is. Remember this. If you're taking notes tonight, remember this, that opportunity almost always is only available in the form of a seed, in the form of something that it's unrealized, just potential. When you look at a seed, it's not really anything like what it will be. You know, when we think, I want a corn stalk or I want a corn field, when we look at that seed, it doesn't look like a cornfield. But the reality is that is a cornfield. Inside of that corn, that kernel of corn, there is a cornfield. But we got to know what to do with it. You know, with 3 chickens and a rooster, it may look like 3 chickens and a rooster to you, but to some, it's 1,000 chickens and a rooster, and half of them laying golden eggs. Hallelujah. And so this is how it works. Oftentimes people, they want the dough, but they don't want the work that comes with it or the risk. They want that big loaf of bread to come out of heaven, but they don't want those little seeds that they're going to have to grind into flour and bake into a cake and spend all of the time and the effort doing it. But this is just how it is. This is how God often works and provides in our lives. When God gets ready to hand you a multi-million-dollar business, He'll often just give you a $50 opportunity. And you have to recognize it for what it is when it comes to you and realize that it starts somewhere. don't live your life thinking that that opportunities aren't available, and miss seeing and recognizing the things that are around you, all around you, even right now. So recognizing opportunity is very important. Now, this class about attracting opportunity, I think that my brother briefly mentioned this, that when you think of some people, it just seems like opportunity is attracted to them. Every time they turn around, it seems like they have some break, or they have some opportunity available to them. And it looks like some people have way more opportunities than what other people do. But I don't believe that. And the reason I don't believe that is because it is just simply not true. We all have an unbelievable plethora of opportunities all around us. I remember I was preaching one time, and in the middle of my preaching, I remember it was like I could just see it, our church. This was when I was in Hazen, Arkansas. I could see our church. And it's like we were all just wading through kind of a waters, if you will. And we were up to our elbows. But it's like I knew that it was opportunity, and that we were just swimming in opportunities. And I started preaching about that, and right there in the moment, as I was impressed by God, and I was telling people that every day of your life, you're passing opportunities. Every time you get in your car, every time you go to work, it's all around you. And we prayed that night that God would help us to see it and open our eyes so that we could recognize opportunities for what they were. Well, there was a man who had started coming to our church, and when he came, he was broken, and he was broke, and he had been through a lot of really tough circumstances. He came to our church on the bottom. He was a very hard worker. He was not afraid of work. Matter of fact, one of the hardest working people I've ever known. And but he did physical labor every day, worked hard, and it was kind of like almost like being a slave. If he wasn't there breaking his back, he was not making money. And when that service happened, where the Lord impressed me about, we're just swimming in opportunities, something came on him, and he made up his mind that I'm going to start everywhere I can. I'm going to start searching out and looking for opportunities that are around me. And there was a house that he passed every day that was ran down, the gutters falling off of it, and it was overgrown. Even though it was a house that just, when you would look at it from the outside, it didn't even look like it was livable. But he started inquiring about that house. He figured out who owned it, and he spent months trying to get the owners of this house to communicate with him and to sell the house. These people had some kind of major just depression problems and mental problems, and the lady who was living there, she had moved over with this other man, and she just left that house there. But after months of working and trying to get them to sell that house, they finally agreed to sell the house, and they sold it to him for $40,000. Now, this house, you have never seen anything like it in your life. He calls me one day and he asked me to come and tour the house with him. And so I said, absolutely. And we went over, and I remember we walked up to the front door, And he opened up the front door, and we were about to walk in. And I stopped. And I said, hold on a second. Before I go in this house, I'm going to go get my boots. And I'm going to go get a mask. And we're gonna just give me a few minutes. I ran down the road. I got one of those medical masks that we were all having to wear, and I got these boots that come up to my knees. And I came back, and we went in that house. The first step into that living room, you had to go like this, and you had to step up on a pile of garbage that included everything you could possibly think of. That house was full of garbage. It stank so bad that I could not even hardly breathe when I walked into that house. There were several dead cats in that house. There was cat feces everywhere. It was on top of the counters, all down through the counters. And I feel like y'all need a picture of this because I had to endure it. And so you can at least see a mental image of it. You can't smell what I smelled that night, but at least you'll get a little idea. And so here we were walking across the feces. You could not walk through the house without stepping on, cat waste. And so there was trash. There was clothes and clutter piled up. And we were walking through there, and I said, man, this is unbelievable. This house is awesome. I said, this is one of the best stills I've ever seen. And he said, I have brought several people here to look at this house, and you are the first person that has said even anything good about this house. But I wasn't just saying that. I meant it. I believed it. I knew that, somewhere beyond all of this garbage and somewhere beyond all of this dead cats and these feces, that, anything was possible. If you're not afraid of working, then you can do it. You can make it happen. And so he bought that house and he got to work, and he ended up getting a crackhead to start working on the, and I'm sorry if I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Crackhead, that's a safe place. All right. I didn't know if I was in Jeanerette or Memphis or what. And so he got to work, man. This crackhead, he gave out on it. He couldn't finish the job. And he had somebody else, and they didn't finish the job. And so finally, he got in there and worked. I mean, it was dumpsters and dumpsters of trash and garbage and filth. And finally got it cleaned out. He stripped that house down to the studs. We went in there and sprayed. I actually helped him on that day. We went in there and sprayed every inch of that house down with deodorizer and all this stuff. And he would work all day, and he would come home and he would work on that house. And he finally he got it fixed up really nice, and they moved into that house, and they were living in that house for a little while. And then one evening, I got a call, and that house had caught on fire. And it was raging fire. And we got there, and I was standing there with them, and they were crying and watching their house burn down. And I don't know really why they were crying, because my first thought when I see a house burned down is, if you got insurance, it's going to be all right. But I've never had a house burned down, and he told me that it was like just someone dying. The experience of that. But the insurance company was good to him, and they ended up. They wrote a check. The house was paid for by then, and they wrote him a check for $240,000 for the cost of rebuilding the house. And also, the insurance company, they allow a certain amount per month in order to pay for living somewhere while the house is being built. And so he asked them, and they paid him that amount up front. They went ahead and paid him up front. It was like $56,000. And he took it and he bought a nice mobile home, which he had also found by knocking on doors. This lady, owner financed her 10-space mobile home park for $5,000 down and $1,200 a month, and it was bringing in $1,240 a month. And it had some spaces available. So he took that new, almost new trailer. He moved it into his trailer park. And then he took some of that money and bought more trailers and filled up the rest of that trailer park. And then someone called him, and there was a house for sale for $110,000 that he would later put on the market for almost $300,000. And by the time it was all said and done, in just a few years, he had a net worth of over $1 million. But it all started by him being willing to just look right where he was and things that he was passing every day, and get to work on being diligent about making something happen. A lot of people, they will shy away from things that take that kind of work and take that kind of effort. But the reality is that, people will look at a man like that who were not in the middle of everything, and they'll think, oh, well, what a lucky break that he had, because it just happened for him, but it won't happen for me. But they may forget the fact that it started by him being willing to just take some simple steps and be diligent about that. And that's what happens for people who are hard workers, and they're willing to take the risk, or even small risk, and be willing to get their hands dirty and get to work. And so I've seen it happen time and again that people they get into positions where they can be blessed, and it's not an accident, though. It's not an accident. It is. It's because of their view and because of what they're doing. So I said all that to bring us to this: that opportunity is not attracted to successful people. Listen to me real close. I'm telling you, opportunity is not attracted to anybody. But rather, successful people are attracted to opportunity. Y'all got that? We don't, I don't just happen to have opportunity kind of being attracted to me. Opportunity is an inanimate thing. Opportunity doesn't come to anybody of its own accord. It's said like that because that's what it seems like. It appears to be that way, that some people, opportunity is just attracted to them. But the reality is that there are people who have learned to see opportunity everywhere they look. Now, when I'm going through life, one of my greatest challenges is choosing which opportunity I'm going to pursue, because there are so many opportunities that it literally overwhelms me. I'm telling you, like, I get overwhelmed with it. I think, oh Lord, man, I'm trying to figure out a way to make it happen the way I could do it. And I just want to stretch myself, and I think I could do it. And because I look over here, I'm like, man, somebody can make money doing that. And I look over here like, Lord, I can make money doing that. And I got to remind myself, I'm a pastor. I gotta, remember what I'm supposed to be doing and what God's called me to do. But if I did nothing else tonight, other than just convince you that you are swimming. You are swimming in opportunity. There's opportunities in your coworkers. There's opportunities in things that you're passing every day. There's opportunities in everybody that you meet. There are people that you're meeting that are connected to people, and how you're treating them. That person is an opportunity. You may have heard of the 6 connection principle, that every person, you are 6 connections away from anybody in the world. In other words, you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows Donald Trump. Or you may know somebody that knows Donald Trump. Or you may know Donald Trump. But it's 6 people or less. You can get to whoever you want in the world. So every person you meet is an opportunity. And I could go on and on about this. There's opportunity absolutely everywhere. Think about Joseph in the Bible. This principle is here. It's found. And there's a reason that 70% of the Forbes 400 are Jewish people. Is because of their mindset and because of their way of thinking and the way they've been taught and raised. Joseph, when he was in the dungeon, he was thrown in prison. He became the keeper of the prison while he was there. Now, let me ask you a question. Did the opportunity find him, or did he find the opportunity? How lucky was he? Because the opportunity of being a prison keeper came to him. Or what about when he was sold into slavery in Potiphar's house, and he became head of the household and in charge of all of Potiphar's affairs? Did the opportunity come to him? I don't think so. It's not like that. When you're sold into slavery, into Potiphar's house, that to a lot of people that does not look like an opportunity. But Joseph, he viewed that wherever he was going to take full advantage of the opportunity at that moment. So if he's in Potiphar's house, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. If I'm in the dungeon, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. And it was that mentality and that attitude is what brought him to the position that he was in Pharaoh's house. It wasn't because he was sold into slavery in Potiphar's house. But it was because he found the opportunity in where he was placed. He recognized, I suppose he recognized that God put him where he was. And the dungeon is not an ideal position in life. That's not a place that you want to be or that anybody else wants to be. And did you know that Joseph's dream that he had was so much bigger than the dungeon? The dream that he had was so much bigger than where he was right now. But Joseph did not waste his time in the dungeon dreaming and fretting over what he did not have, and the fact that he could not grasp the dream that God had put in his heart. But rather, he redeemed the time and he took advantage of the opportunity right where he was. And that's what led him to the opportunity of his connection with the butler and with the baker. And that's what led him to his connection with Pharaoh and to be in that position. What if his attitude, he just flippantly brushed off the butler and the baker, and he said, I'm not going to help you with your dream because my dreams are wasted and hopeless. But no, he didn't have that attitude. He was willing to find the opportunity where he was. It's interesting to me that when he went looking for a fisher of men, he found men who were already fishing. And this is how God works. He will find people who are already taking advantage of the opportunities that they have right now and working in that capacity and doing what they know to do. Now, I'm going to embarrass Brother Zach over here. I'm going to embarrass him, but it's all right. Because, Brother Zach, I told you didn't have to come to this tonight. Brother Zach is somebody who has exemplified what I'm talking about like you wouldn't believe. He's the kind of person that just goes above and beyond, way beyond the call of duty. And he's the kind of person that when other people are wiggling out of the opportunities, he is a person that he embraces it and he follows through with it. Sometime I will send a mass text. And Brother Zach will be on there and several other guys will be on there. And sometimes I will present an opportunity. And many people don't see things as an opportunity. You know, like an opportunity to clean up after construction or something like that. Y'all, you ever get those opportunities around here? Y'all getting nervous or what? That's not like nervous laughter. And so, but Brother Zach, he's always willing to do whatever. But even better than that, the other night, he called me. Man, you're right here on the front row too, Brother Zach. Y'all look at Brother Zach over there. You see him? This is a guy that recognizes opportunity. He called me because the carpet guys had laid carpet in our church, and they had taken a big pile of carpet remnants. And he called me, and I didn't even know that it was outside. I didn't even know that they had thrown it outside the church. And he called me, and he said, "Hey, these carpet remnants in front of the church." He said, I was going to throw them away, but I was going to make sure that we didn't need them for something. And so this is the kind of guy he is. He just takes it upon himself and will do things like that. He goes way above and beyond in his giving. And he's the kind of person that he stays until it's done. And he'll even come up with things to do. Now, I have a question. When it comes time for me to find someone to give an opportunity to that's better than throwing away scrap carpet, okay? I'm talking about like a real opportunity now. When it comes time to do that, who do you think that I'm just naturally going to migrate to? And I got to believe that God is the same way. And since we are created in the image of God, that human nature is also the same way. We migrate towards people who are like that. And that's the kind of attitude that Joseph had when he was willing to help the butler and help the baker, even when it looked like it was to no advantage to him to do that. What's the advantage of working hard in a dungeon that you've been thrown in? What's the advantage of these serving people and serving the church and all these things? That's what our human nature will tell us. But the reality is that every time we take advantage of the things that around us that God has given us to do, it has a way of connecting us up to a bigger opportunity, to a greater opportunity. Those little opportunities like the butler and the baker and keeping the prison doors and whatever goes into serving in the dungeon, Those are the things that connected him to greater things. And I'm going to tell you that people, they know and they're watching. They see and recognize the people who have that kind of attitude and have that kind of vision to want to be people to go above and beyond. And so we have to be able to recognize opportunity when we see it. We got to be able to know it for what it is. And also, we have to be the kind of people who, while other people are seeing hard work, they're seeing inconveniences, they're seeing seeds that don't amount to much at all. If you'll be the kind of person that will look at that, and you can look at a kernel of corn and see a field of corn. And there'd be something in you that you get so excited at the opportunity to get a hold of that kernel of corn because you know what that can become. A lot of people, they despise the day of small things. They despise the little seed of potential because they see it as, I got to clear the land. I've got to break up the fallow ground. I've got to water it. I've got to take care of it. And I've had people tell me I'm looking for maximum income for minimum input. Do you know anything for me? And I tell them, no, but if you'll let me know when you find it, please. And so the reality is that inside of every little seed of opportunity that God has put in your hand, because he already has. I'm telling you, God already has. In that is something great, and it's something mighty, and it's something powerful. And it can become exponential and produce. And finally, I'm gonna close with this last point. And this may seem to some to be so just, not that profound. But I'm telling you, I know by experience that this is very profound. And it is this, that you can only take a step from where you are right now. I know. This is deep tonight. And I know your minds are blown. But hear me when I tell you, just try to compose yourself. Because that's just how it is. You can only take a step from where you are right now. Now, I'm standing up here up front of this sanctuary, and I can look back there at that back door. But I cannot step through that back door right now. Y'all, I know, y'all think I'm tall enough maybe, but I'm telling you I can't even come close. All I can do, if I want to get through that door, I only have one option. And I just got to do this. There's to some, it's just not satisfying enough. To some, that's not profound enough. That doesn't make them feel big enough and important enough. So they'll just stand right here and just say, one day, I want to get through that door. And they'll pray and they say, oh, God, open that door. And their eyes are on it and they know they want it and they see it. But the reality is this simple. If you want through that door, you just got to do this right here. You got to take one step. You ready for me to blow your mind again? Y'all are still healing from the last brain explosion. You can only take the second step after you've taken the first. I can just feel it going through here. I know. Y'all need a moment, I can tell. You can only take the second step after you have taken the first. And so, here's the key. You've just got to take the step where you are right now. You got to be able to recognize where you are and take the step. So here's what we do. We look up to where we want to go. We have the vision for what we see. And that's what we start with. We get that picture in our mind, and we get determined, and we have it solidified in our heart and our mind, our spirit, that this is what it can become, and this is where I can go. I can get through that door. And then you look down, and you look right where you are, and you say, okay, what can I do right now to get there? Not tomorrow, not even the next day, but what can I do right now to get where I am? I was talking to a young man the other day, and about a business idea, and he said, well, I guess what I need to do is I need to get some business cards printed up. I'm going to get a shirt. And I said, that's good. You need to do that. But before you get the business card printed up and the shirt, and before we leave this restaurant, I said, you find the manager of this restaurant right now, and you tell him what you can do for him. And so what we tend to do is we want to skip to the third or the fourth step. We want to skip ahead. We want to do something. But the reality is that you got to take that big vision and you got to whittle it all the way down into one tiny step before you do anything else. And you just say, I'll take that step right there. I think about how God gave Moses a grand vision of delivering the entire nation of what would be Israel out of Egypt. And Moses was overwhelmed, and how is this going to be? How can we accomplish this? And then God said, what is that in thy hand? And so God showed him the big picture. And then Moses, how in the world would I ever be? And God said, look down right now what's in your hand. And he said, you just take that and you throw it down, and we're going to start right now. He didn't wait till the next day. He said, but Moses, right now, I'm going to start the process. And you're just going to take that rod and you're going to throw it down. And that's how the journey began to one of the greatest human accomplishments with God that has ever been done. And that was through Moses and through the deliverer. And so there's people in this room, you have great big dreams and plans and aspirations. And just know that you can get there and that anything is possible if you can just take that first step. And that first step will lead you to the second step. And after you take the second step, then you can take the third step. And you absolutely can get there. As long as you're willing to just start right now. Start right where you are. What will happen is, as I'm talking to people, you're going to think about what you want to do. And you're going to think about the step that you can take to get there. And if you're not careful, without even realizing it, you're avoiding actually taking the first step. And so you're thinking of your first step as too big. Am I making sense right now? And and sometimes you got to whittle it down a little farther. No, business card ain't the first step. No, getting a shirt's not the first step. But there's something you can do even smaller than that to get started. And so don't try to make this some more complicated than what it is. It's really not. I was, and I'm done. I'm done. I got a story to tell you, and I'm done. There was a man in the church there in Jeanerette right after I got there, and when I got there, he didn't have a job. He was in a hard place financially, and he came and talked to me about starting a barber shop, and he had been a barber before, and it had been years and years and years since he had been a barber, and he was talking to me about doing that, and he was talking about how, he was looking for a shop. He was looking for a place where he could rent a good location. He had looked here and he had looked there, and I told him, I said, really, you need a shop and everything, but you could always start with just cutting hair, maybe out of your house or somewhere, anywhere that you have available to do it. And so he started working on that, and then he had a shop that he was going to convert in his house. He was going to convert into a little barber shop. He's going to put a chair in there and everything. And then I found out he had priced materials to turn the shop. And so, he condensed it down into a way smaller step. Instead of renting a shop right now, he condensed it down. And so now he was just going to use his shop that he had. He had gotten, I think, like $800 and something worth of lumber it was going to take. And but then I knew that he didn't even have that money to do that. And again, one service we were, the Holy Ghost was moving, and I walked up to him and I said, I was praying, and I felt the Lord on me, and I told him, I said, I want you to get a pair of scissors and a comb and go sit in the dirt in your front yard and start cutting hair. Oh, Lord. I said, don't worry about getting boards. Don't worry about any of that. You just start cutting hair. And he did. He started doing it. He just he used a shop that nothing had been done to it whatsoever. And I even started getting my hair cut there, and it was a little creepy and weird at first, but it was great. And he started doing that, and then it wasn't long that somebody had heard that he was cutting hair, and they reached out to him. They had a chair available in one of the nicest areas for him to come to, and so he was able to move into that. And it's amazing how much his business grew, and God's been blessing him. And just this week, he is buying a house for cash, a house on 2 acres with a pond for cash. But you know where it started? It started by him just getting a pair of scissors and getting a comb and saying, I'm going to start right where I am, right here, right now. I'm not waiting to get a board. I'm not waiting to get a piece of sheetrock. But how can I start it right now? Hey, if you got a pair of scissors in your hand and you got a comb in your hand tonight, you can be buying a house cash a year from now. You hear what I'm telling you. There is something about when a child of God starts making effort that God, he blesses it. I've heard Bishop Holmes say it so many times. He said, there's one thing I know. God definitely blesses effort. When those 4 lepers got up from that gate and they started walking, you know what happened? God multiplied and magnified the effort so great that the next thing they know, they were raiding the entire Syrian camp and they were looting it. I'm telling you, God is able to do that to anybody in this place. If you'll just say, I'm not going to sit here till I die. I'm going to get up and I'm going to start walking, and you will see the glory of the Lord. Hallelujah. God bless you. I love all of you. Thank you for your attention tonight. Y'all have a wonderful night.
Well, that was all very practical and very good. You know, sometimes we're looking for a new revelation, or we're looking for some new big thing, you know, some big idea. But really, it's mastering the small things that are right in front of you. I know I spent many years, as Pastor can probably attest, he's seen my development over a lot of years, and my father, who's here tonight as well. I've always been a person of big vision. I've not always been a person of great action. And but once I started getting some action, it's just amazing how vision just started to come to pass. But, you know, I love what he said about you can't get to where you're going until you take that first step. And then you can't take that second step until you take the first step. And I got hung up there. I spent like years of my life wasted thinking of step number 4 that I just couldn't do yet, instead of breaking it down to step number 1. And that really makes a difference. You know, I had a couple little thoughts. I won't try to take too much time here, but there's a saying that successful people have a strong action bias. And this is what he was talking about, which means people that are prone to be successful are prone to be the people that will take action on something. They're not going to sit and ponder and think and, you know, like, well, I wonder, because if you do that too long, it'll pass you by. Because there's another saying that says opportunity only has hair on the front of its head. You got to grab it while it's coming at you, because once it passes you by, there ain't nothing to grab a hold of, right? And so you got to take action when it's coming at you. And I loved how he talked about work and risk. You know, a lot of people are willing to work, but they're not willing to take a risk. And because taking a risk means I'm vulnerable. It means that what are people going to say if I fail? If I try to open a barber shop and I become the laughing stock of the community? Well, right now he's paying cash for a house. That's a big step. You have to take that risk. But at the same time, you have to put work behind it. Because if you take risk without willing to do any work, then you're gambling. And just trying to do something that's probably not going to go anywhere. You have to put those two together. And I like how I'm kind of wrapping up what he said there as far as positioning yourself for opportunity. If you get out there and make yourself vulnerable, sometimes your risk may not be a financial risk. It may be talking to the manager of that restaurant, or it may be connecting with someone and say, hey, I'm about to start a such XYZ business, or hey, I'd like to buy this. I remember one time a guy was cutting our grass, and I was talking to him, and he was getting up there in age, and I said, well, how long are you going to do this? And he's like, well, I'd like to retire in the next 2 or 3 years. And it just came out of me, because I'm the type of person that I've just learned an opportunity. I said, well, have you considered selling your business? He's like, I might to you. And it turns out it wasn't the right opportunity for me, but I passed it on to someone else and like different things. And then that didn't work out, but someone stopped on the side of the road to help a delivery truck that fell in a ditch delivering something to one of our properties. And I told that guy about the opportunity, and he's following up on it, because sometimes the opportunity will come to you, but you don't do anything with it. Or sometimes it's not the right opportunity for you. You have to be able to filter out what are the right opportunities. But sometimes that right opportunity, it'll stick when it's the right time. But now I was able to help somebody who helped me just by having a conversation with someone a year ago, right? And so I love so much what he said. I have to stop, but I could just talk. Opportunity is a fantastic thing. It's like when you get a new vehicle or you get something new, and like you just can't stop seeing it everywhere. Before, you never noticed it. But after you leave the dealership, it's like, man, every other person in town's driving one of those, right? Because you see it everywhere. Opportunity is the same way. But I'm going to give you just 3 or 4 practical steps that I took away from based on what he was talking about and just that I've found in life. Some very practical things is, number 1, look for what's right in front of you. I think we can all apply that. Number 2 is figure out your MVP, your minimum viable product. What is the minimum to get started, and go do that. And then number 3 is look at what you will learn. When you're looking at an opportunity, look at what you will learn that will prepare you for further advancement. I've talked to a number of people about this, and they're like, well, I want to get into investing and doing this, that, and the other. And they're like, well, great. Well, what's your job you're going to go do right now? Well, I'm going to go work at a warehouse. Okay, that's good, but what are you learning there that's setting you up for your real estate investment career? Why don't you go work at a bank as a teller? At least you're connecting with people in finance, and then become a personal banker, a private banker, or maybe you become a loan officer. Well, if you position yourself to learn something that puts you in the atmosphere of people that are doing what you want to do, that will further you along instead of I'm just going to work in a warehouse making $25 an hour and save until I can buy my first rental house. Well, that's great, but you could make the same amount of money and learn and get there way faster and build better connections doing something else. But a lot of people don't think like that. So what can you do in your current opportunity or your next one to prepare for the future? Think in 4D chess there. And then number 4 is look for something that will scale. Find almost anything scalable if you do it right, but a lot of people will get stuck in business. I don't know how many business owners I've talked to that are looking for an exit plan because they never figured out how to scale, and so it never really reached the full potential because either it wouldn't scale or they didn't know how to scale it. So figure out a way to scale and grow what you have beyond just you when you're going into it. And lastly is look for ways to connect what you're doing now or what you're about to do to the next step. How can I connect this to the future? And once you start doing that, if you want, I talk to people about the land business a lot. Well, if you want to get into learning how to sell land, why don't you flip four-wheelers and side-by-sides? It's the same process. You're selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace to people all the time, right? Or if you want to get into this or something else, figure out something that's of like kind and figure out how this is going to connect me to it. If you can take those and start applying those with all the principles that he talked about, put that with those principles, those practical steps, you're already on your way to opportunity, because the reality is opportunity, like he said, is out there for anybody and everybody. Anybody could have bought that house for $40,000, but not everyone was. And so you have to do something with opportunity. But what I love about being a Pentecostal, about being a saved child of God, is that there is life and chance. The Bible talks about how it rains on the just and the unjust, and there's life and chance. It happens to all of us, right? So opportunity is just a natural byproduct of the world God created. But also, God is the creator of opportunity, and he will orchestrate things to create opportunity for you. And just like Joseph in the Bible, like he was talking about, he told that story. Those situations were crafted to set him up for what is he going to do with this? God was looking at his response to negative circumstances, but really it wasn't a setback, it was a setup. And so when we get a job loss, or we get someone that someone didn't buy our product or something like this. I had something the other day that I wanted to sell something, and it fell through, and I was really bummed. And then someone came along like 2 days later, and they're like, well, I'll give you 3 times that much. And I was like, I'm so glad I waited, right? So sometimes a closed door is not something that we get depressed about and be like, opportunity is not for me. I'm never going to win. But think about, okay, God, if you're directing my steps, how is this setting me up? Because how you think, if you have a negative bias, you will always sink to the lowest common denominator, and then you'll miss a greater opportunity. Whereas if you're like, okay, this is not a setback, this is a setup, I'm looking for it. You got your bat out, right? It's coming for me, because you want to be able to swing when the time hits. But anyway, I've got to finish here. So the giveaways. So I have 2 giveaways here, and I predetermined these seats, so I'm not looking at who's out there right now. But in the middle section, If you get here early, you can get a seat in the middle section. Middle section, right side, my right, row 4, 4 rows back, seat 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I think it would be you, sister. So I think you're the closest. So that'll be for you. And then I have another one on the second row back, third in. So 1, 2, 3. That'd be you, Sister Emma. So congratulations to you guys. Well, thank you so much. We have 3 more sessions. We have Brother Nathan Holmes is talking about abundance mindset, Lord willing, next week. And then Brother Adam King is going to be coming to us, and he's going to be talking about overcoming personal growth barriers. And lastly, we're going to finish out, Lord willing, with Brother Mark Copeland about alignment for blessing. So these are key topics, I think, in this season of increase that where we can take it from just something out there in the universe, and we can take this from a promise to a practical things we can apply to our life, to not just to look at and dream about, but to step in to a season of increase. Anyone else want to do that? Amen. Well, why don't we all stand just for a moment, and this is our first session. Why don't we just say a quick word? I pray that, let's pray that God put this in us, and I want you to pray, if you don't want opportunity, pray for your neighbor, and say, God, send us opportunity. Well, can we do that real quick? Lord, I pray right now that you will send opportunity to your people, God, that you will open our eyes to what you've already placed and set before us, oh God. And I pray that we would have blessing upon blessing and opportunity upon opportunity, God. Lord, I pray right now that someone would step into a new job opportunity this week. I pray that someone would have a business idea that comes to them this week. God, I pray that someone would have the opportunity to witness to that key person that's going to transform their workplace, God, this week, God. Give us the eyes and the faith to see it and step through that open door, God. I believe it in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Amen. Well, thank you again for your time, and we will see you again next week at 7 o'clock. God bless.